I'm Dr. Peter Bernstein, and I am the founder and director of the Bernstein Institute for Trauma Recovery. But today we're going to be talking from another program we have called Lynn's Legacy, Caring for the Caregiver. And I want to introduce some folks of mine that work very closely. We all work closely as a team. This is Kelly Barling, and she's a coach and mentor and overseer of a lot of things that I'd rather not oversee. And then this is Hello Levy, also a coach and mentor and body worker, certified body worker, and specialized work that I've developed over, 54 years. And but we're here today to talk about something that we are close to our hearts, and it has to do with caregiving for the caregivers. And we have a special passion and devotion for it because we all have been through it ourselves. Lynn's Legacy is named after my late wife, Lynn, who we all took care of for 4.5 years before she passed. She had cerebral vascular dementia. And Kelly helped me with my wife and her mother at the same time. So if you want to see what an impossibility for a caregiver is like, that's what it's like. And Hello has been working with me side by side for an awfully long time with caregiving, but she's also got her own personal things going on with it right now too. So she's in the midst of it on a personal level as well as professional. But we're here to talk about something that is close to our hearts, and we wanted to make this kind of like a forum because we on Mondays have our staff meetings, and subjects come up based on people we're helping or the latest things that we're writing about or thinking about. And this last week, really, I felt I wish we could have videoed it. And we were talking about the caregivers who are caring for their loved ones. And even though we're all professionals, and I've been a professional a long time, and even though we work on helping other people, there's another dimension altogether when you're working with your loved one who may have a certain deteriorating condition, dementia, strokes, cancer, whatever, but where it really takes an awful lot of attentiveness and giving and caring to someone who's not feeling well and who's most of the time for us, they're dying, and depending on what stage of the disease they're in. And what we want to talk about is something that we've spent a lot of time with. We have a lot of podcasts on it, and that is caregiving for the caregivers. Now, I use that term, and I know where you just said that, Peter, that's the name of the program, but I'll tell you what we've learned about that is that it's very easy, no matter how much job experience you have with it, it's a very difficult thing to hold grasp to without letting it affect you deeply. And when I say that, it's the kind of thing that we have to give an awful lot of energy, and it's our loved ones we want to give even more. And we've had ongoing relationships with them for my wife and I, it was 47 years. But one of the things you discover is things change dramatically. As the diseases take over, the person you once loved for who they were and the reciprocation and the relationships, it changes dramatically. And what happens is the adjustment needs to be made in the sense of, as a caregiver, it's giving of ourselves from empathy, concern, and skill, but we're not going to be getting back the reciprocation that we were getting under normal historical circumstances. And that changes things dramatically. The toll it takes is very interesting because here we are, people that we've done training programs. We've done 140 podcasts on this. What we've done is we've done training manuals and training programs, which we want to put out there now to more people. But we know what we're talking about. We have a lot of experience in many different ways. I was a trauma psychologist, psychotherapist for a long time. Today I'm a mentor and coach, and I like to be there. That's what my passion for the rest of my life is. And the body work that we use to diffuse the tensions that we take on. Well, as caregivers, the work itself is very traumatizing. And I don't always hear people talk about it in that light, but being an expert and being involved with traumatized individuals for a long time, there is no question how traumatizing it is and difficult. So no matter how much you know, how many books you read, how much skills you've attained, the more unspoken part takes its toll, and it also is predominant. So what we want to talk about today, and I want the ladies to speak up because they have a lot to say about this, is the effect it has on us in our relationships with our loved ones, the effect it has on us physically and emotionally and spiritually. And we talk about, and we're very committed to this, how to preserve and create resilience in caregivers because the work itself is very depleting. And there's many reasons for it. One of them is giving so much energy and you're not receiving in a reciprocating manner anymore. That goes with the territory. And when you're dealing with people that have been sick and your loved one, you don't even expect it anymore. But the truth of the matter is, what we do forget is the toll that it's taking on ourselves and how to read the signs before the depletion really causes serious physical and emotional problems, which it can. Unfortunately, we've seen many caregivers not make it, and they're gone before the people they take care of because it's taken such a toll on them and they didn't do any self care. So anyway, I want to open this up a little bit, and we had a very free flowing conversation about this on Monday at a staff meeting. Hello, and Kelly. These are women of experience, and right now, Hello is also in the midst of it in a personal life. So we'd like to talk about it a little bit more and talk about the energy depletion and what it begins to cause and how it affects us and our nervous systems. How to be aware of it is a skill and an ability that really is important to be reminded of. No matter how much you think you know, when you're in the front lines, it's not called being in the trenches, it's easy to forget ourselves. Yeah. Until we're really in trouble ourselves. Very true. So anyway, I want to open it up to the ladies a little bit. They have plenty to say about it, and usually we're talking to each other face to face, so it's a little different. But I think Hello is. I could hear that she's got some things to say, and Kelly always has things to say. But we want to say this in a way that's non-clinical. I want to emphasize that. We're talking to people in the trenches. What we present in our workshops, what we present on the videos and training, has to have the substance that you folks going through this and living through it feel that you're understood, related, and you're not alone. That's so important to me. So my PhD years of that, I'll be honest with you, when I was in the midst of it with my wife, that went out the window. What was more important was I was a fellow human being like anyone else, dealing with all the ups and downs and difficulties of caregiving and losing my beloved. So anyway, let me open up the Hello, and then Kelly will have her 2 cents. Trust me, she will. And Hello, what would you like to kind of add to this or share with us?
Well, I'm right in the middle of, I would say, a more difficult period with my husband in his illness that he has, which is dementia. Uh, Now, I'm going to just say I was a caregiver to Lynn, Peter's wife, and that was an experience that was definitely took time, took effort, took energy on my part. But there's this big difference between taking care of someone who's you haven't had a history, a long relationship with. And I think that that's something that I'm finding to be really a challenge. And it can be a roller coaster. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm definitely learning a lot as I go through this. Um, it's a challenge in that you have history, and yet you're having to now look at this person in a different way. And it can be hard, can be difficult. Uh, I find that, and we're talking kind of about the energy that is continually drawn out of you when you're dealing with so many different situations. And believe me, this is a roller coaster ride, I find. And I have to be very careful about recognizing when I am really beginning to feel that kind of drain on myself, which can be so tiring. And it also can lead to irritability. Um, it just, you lack then this compassion that you feel for this person, the empathy that you feel, and you can end up losing your clear perspective on really where they are. So it's something that happens easily to everybody. Personally, if I didn't have a period of time that I was able to get the mentoring and the coaching that is so necessary for me right now, especially
And
going
the
through
team
this.
support.
And the team, yes, the team support, absolutely, which we all do with one another. Um, I would be probably in big trouble because there's some issues in my past that, and I don't need to get into that, but issues in my past that would be coming up and interfering a great deal with my being a caregiver to my husband.
Let me say something. You don't want to bring it up, but one of the things that we have to bring up, not in a save this for the training workshops, is triggering. And one of the things about emotional being a caregiver is there is certainly emotional fatigue that goes on. I mean, that's the norm, and you can recover from that with a little rest, and it doesn't take that long. If you don't do the things that to diffuse what you've taken on, though, or what has been triggered, quote unquote, it has a cumulative effect and begins to wear you down and actually deplete your nervous system where it stays in the hyper alert system 24/7, and it's not supposed to, and it's very exhausting and draining, and eventually can lead to what we call burnout. And burnout is you're done. We've seen too many people burn out who physically, emotionally, and every other way just go down the tubes because they didn't know how to counter it. That's our commitment, is teaching people, showing people, coming alongside them in ways to help them not burn out and how to preserve themselves. Triggering, and Kelly and I spoke about it earlier today. She didn't want to, in our workshops, this is a one whole subject, training subject, and it's a big one. But the truth of the matter is, very simply, is we come to our caregiving role, but we have our own histories, our own pain, our own difficulties. Everybody does, some more than others. The problem with this, with caregiving, though, is it seems to bring it out more, and the more exhausted we get, or the more concentrated the challenges are, and there are plenty. So what begins to happen is our histories, our material, our traumas begin to come to the surface at the same time as we're taking care of people that are in very bad shape. So the challenge is recognizing it and knowing that we have certain techniques to not allow it to contaminate or interfere or work with with our loved one who's in need, but it has to be dealt with later. And on our at our trauma institute, we take care of this quite a bit. But I didn't want to go into it too much because Kelly said, "Don't." It's a whole subject unto itself,
It is.
and it is,
It is.
and it's also quite an experience unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a one-shot deal. But we do want to bring it up because it happens to everyone, and for folks that don't admit it, know it, or be aware of it,
Mm-hmm.
it's more dangerous and it's more destructive. Anyway, does that fit so far? I
Yeah.
keep it simple. She wants me to keep it real simple. Don't get too involved in this because we deal with this a lot.
It is its own topic, triggering.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I know.
And it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
No one's immune to it. We all have our own history. It's inevitable.
Yep.
But caregiving is stressful, and it can bring that out in a person. And we were started with emotional exchange. Um, Specifically today, we're talking about close relationships and caregiving, husband, wife, mother, child, some kind of close relationship like that. Um, and that you get used to a certain pattern of behavior between yourself and that other person. Well, that can change, especially with dementia or any type of dementia. I guess I
Well,
would say
dimensions
there's
in
so
general,
many.
yeah, there's so much in this, and so many topics in
So
that.
you have to be able to change the way you respond to that person instead of react in your old ways, which is a natural response. You get used to a pattern with your
Yeah,
partner.
sure.
So recognizing that they're sick and that you have to respond instead of react. Um, to
Very good
keep
point.
our stress levels down, to keep our emotional stability. That exchange again, like Peter was talking about, the exchange isn't the same. You put out a lot more than you get back. So maintaining your equilibrium in that dynamic is important. Not allowing yourself to uh, run out of battery. Like you just are giving, giving, giving. You get tired emotionally and physically. This will show up physically for you.
Definitely, eventually. During the burnout phase, there's no question, and that's when we're in the danger territory. We see enough of that. I
Right.
want to say something that we've learned working with so many caregivers. It's not just us. We've worked with many teams, many people. We've become a team support for who are caregivers and families in need. We're devoted and dedicated to that. But I do want to say this: when we get involved with this kind of thing, something has to change within us as the relationship and the person and two of the things that we're taking care of. It's not so easy. We're used to expecting and the person behaving in a certain way, the expectations that they've met for many, many years, relatively normal. I'm not talking about perfect, but normal. That changes because the brain's activity, the deterioration of the brain is happening, but it keeps us on our toes because we want to relate back to how things used to be. In fact, we don't have to think about it. We go there, and all of a sudden, what you realize is those expectations don't fit anymore whatsoever. In fact, they make things harder on the person you're caring for, and also harder on you. And if you have a tendency to get, as Hello said, irritable and tired and depleted, we all do. But when that takes over, all of a sudden you're getting mad at the person for not meeting our expectations the way they used to be. It happens to everyone, but it's not good. And for the person we're taking care of, they could take it the wrong way and really begin to put so much more negative pressure on themselves that they're already experiencing.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing we want to do to them.
It's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. But at the same time, it takes an awful lot of work to keep the channels clear, to keep ourselves clear. So on our work, what we do is we pay attention to the body. We read our body. Our body is absorbing the material, our nervous systems, and we pay attention to that. And we have a way of, after a person is absorbed a certain much depleted and absorbed a lot of the negativity, we have a way of decompressing it so they can get back to themselves and any of their personal material that's come up to the surface. We do diffuse that as well, and then their perspective begins to return. Does it stay that way? Not necessarily. This is an ongoing process. So even when we're doing these things today and we want to talk to where you are, we want you to know that under the stresses that you're under, we don't expect it to hold. You're going to need a lot of ongoing support. Even though you may grasp this, understand it, do a great job, under the exhaustion and under the bombardment, it's so easy to forget about all of this and let ourselves go to self-neglect.
Yep.
And that's a dangerous thing to do for a caregiver. I did have one point I wanted to bring up, that we have discovered something, not in our culture, but we've worked with a lot of people from other cultures that are caregivers, and they're very good. Haitians on the East Coast that we work with. Out here, it's a lot of Fijians and Filipinos,
Yeah.
Mexicans, and they are good. And there's something about the way they view caregiving that most of us in our culture don't have. It doesn't mean can't be good caregivers, but even their children have an understanding of dealing with sickness and aging and whatever. It's just built into their community that everybody's involved. They do a superb job I learn from them all the time. So what we don't necessarily emphasize in our culture, which I wish we did, we can watch others and see how they do it. And I've learned even for 8 and 10-year-olds from Haiti that actually became part of our family. They took care of my mom and dad. They knew more than I did, and I would go to them every time I'd see my parents when I hadn't seen them for a certain length of time, and I'd ask them and give me an update. At 10 years old, they could give me more than I had myself. Okay, but I do want to say this: one thing that's missing in all of these cultures, and one thing we are dedicated to, is self-care. And any person I've talked to who I know as a friend and intimate in caregiving, they all agree. So, caregiving with taking care of ourselves, well, it's lacking in these wonderful cultures too. So that's what our specialty is, and that's what we want to put out today, that you can be helped. And we know what to do. We know you're going to need it, and we know that we grasp it all. We can decompress the pain you're in, but we know it's going to return as long as you're in the trenches in the front lines. We want our videos to speak to you. That's what's most important to us. So you know you're not alone, and there are answers out there for you to keep you going, actually to grow and become more healthy through it all. Believe it or not, it's a very inspiring experience. We call it the extraordinary reality, and it is. It's a life changer. Okay, see, we know those changes that happen. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
But it really can be very inspiring through all the pain and struggle and suffering. It can bring you to a new place within yourself that you didn't even know you could fulfill that kind of purpose and meaning in your life. I have to say, it's changed my life. And I know that's true for Kelly. It's true for Haloa, where she's now in the midst of it again on a personal level. So we've seen it many, many times. We believe in it. We're committed to helping you, and we have the answers and the workshops and the materials for you to keep you going so you can meet the needs of your loved one. I really hope that our videos are not just social media, but they have substance and they speak to your heart, they speak to your body, they speak to you in every way that you need. And if it doesn't, let us know, because we are committed. And we know if you're involved in it, you are too.
And if you want to know more, you should reach out at support@bernsteininstitute.com. We can get back with you on that. That's through email.
That's through emails, right?
You might want to
direct and the phone.
Oh, and you
our
can
director
call us.
is giving the phone signal.
The phone number is 707-781-3335. We'll get back to you.
We will, and we'd be glad to talk to you, and we'd be glad to help you wherever we can. So please let us know. Hang in there. If you're involved in this, you're involved in a reality that most people would rather run from, but it's going to affect everyone. This is something that's growing exponentially. It's affecting more and more people, so none of us are immune. And the better prepared you are, well, the better you're going to be for your loved one, and hopefully taking care of yourself too. Anyway, we send you our best. Our blessings and wishes are with you from the bottom of our heart, because we've been there ourselves, and it changed our lives. See you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.